What's massive and pink, hangs from above and comes like a tornado? You should probably stick around because it's not what you're thinking. I'm just glad I didn't keep it purple. Well, if we could just go ahead and ignore those hills in the background. Welcome back to the Great British Seaside. Welcome back to Beachy Point. Guys, thank you so much for coming along for the ride. I really do appreciate your company. And it's probably about time we put the first vote winner into the park, right? I'm not going to do any of these in order, but we are going to start here with a bloody great big inverted boomerang. And look at how this is sitting. Just nestled nicely in the corner of the park. It's exactly what I wanted it to do. It's just typical standard layout. Station, into the first spike at the back, into the cobra roll, into a vertical loop, into the spike, and then all back on itself. It's exactly the same as the one you'd want to do. I did toy with different layouts and stuff, but I don't have the lateral space in this park to do that, so I've just decided to stick this in here and be done with it, and I am loving it. I thought I wanted to sort of frame this somehow, so I have put these drop towers in here. They're not going to be the only drop towers that are in the park. There's another one that I've hidden. In fact, talking of hidden things, all of the other vote winners are in the park. Members, you've got access to the park file, so you know what to do. But yeah, so I put these drop towers in. I kind of wanted them to frame this whole area. I have just done some interesting stuff. Let me just change the camera with the queue line and things in here. So all I've done is I've just done a bit of a cattle pen, but I actually wanted the towers to be slightly offset, so I can wrap the queue and stuff around this way, and then we come through here. You'll see, by the way, that I've done lots of other work in the park. It's not going to be this episode we're going to get this done, but I have put a chair thing in, cable cars in, and I have also put a troika in, and there's some other stuff as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. So as you can tell, my voice is going. I think I probably should just get on with this. I'll see you in a minute. Oh yes, this is for sure, as the cool kids would say, a ride with no riz. And I am so here for it. It's just an absolute disgusting, cacophonous mess. Look at it. It's gross. And these supports, by the way, this absolute mess of supports have taken longer to pull together than the entire rest of the ride. It's just ridiculous. But it was so worth it. Like, these things are weirdly fun to custom support, but also an absolute nightmare to do. And by the way, the eagle-eyed amongst you have probably already left a comment because you guys are purists and you absolutely love it. No, this is not your usual layout. I have gone for the other Vekoma style layout. So these ones normally do a cross, right? So you normally have the loop over the station and it goes into a big cross. But the reason I didn't do that is because I would have so much wasted space here that it would just, it's just not economical to put it in. So what I wanted to do is have the ride flush against this coaster, and that only means one style of layout. And actually, it also means it's a little bit easier to custom support. Like, it kind of went in it. Colour scheme, I make no apologies for. It's been many colours since I've been designing. At one point, I think it was red and yellow, and then it was blue and purple, all sorts. But I've decided on black and pink because yes. However, what I have also decided on is a station that is purple. And yes, I just want this to be a mess. I don't want this to be a beautiful coaster. I want this to be a mess, and a hot mess at that. So the station then has got its framework. I'm taking cues for this one from Deja Vu. In fact, I couldn't find these with any other kind of station design. The difference is I've put a roof on the top, but all of the other stations, they have an open roof. So yeah, I've gone for that design. Inside the station itself, I've put the support beams in because Planet Coaster doesn't come with these. And then I've just put these pillars in here. So in real life counterparts, there would be much taller air gates in this, like as in they quite literally just block you off completely, and as the train goes past. Look at that for timing. And that's the reason you have really high air gates, because that train comes through at quite some speed. Of course, we can't do that in Planet Coaster, so I'm just making that a thing here. What I have done, however, I haven't triggered them up yet, but as it is a launched coaster and one that goes through the platform, UK legislation would say that any ride staff on the platform would need to be secured away by air gates as well. And so that's what I've done here. You've got like a little, I don't know if you can see it, there you go. So you've got like this little bay in here with the push points and whatever. So the staff member would stand here, the air gates would close, and the ride operator would then dispatch. And I've done the same the other side here too. Not that you can see it. There you go. There's the other air gate there. I just need to trigger them up and whatever properly. And this is actually seen on Stealth at Thorpe Park. So if you're wanting like the real life precedent with how it works, then Stealth at Thorpe Park is how that goes. And then of course I've just put all of the hatching signs down to warn people that, you know, there is a pretty bloody fast moving train that's going to come past any moment. So that's what we've got here. Station-wise, building-wise, I've then just done brickwork and stuff on the outside here and kept it really, really simple. I'm going to put some concrete down on the floor, give it a bit of style. Remember, stylized, not themed. There's a difference, and this is definitely going to be it. So inside the ride area, I've gone for a pebble effect. It feels like I'm going to overgrow it, right? I'm going to put foliage and stuff in here to make it look a little bit tatty, but it feels like this area wouldn't be concrete. There's too much. It'd be pebbles. They would kind of give it a little bit of money and a bit of style to it. And then this flooring down here, this is the flooring I want to use. I want it to be striped, and I want that to then be consistent and come into this area here. I'm not doing this in this episode, but it's going to have that kind of style. The queue line then I have changed ever so slightly. I've brought it around this way into a half cattle pen. I want a tree or something in here because this is quite wasted space. It wouldn't necessarily be foliage, but that's all we've got. And I've added the cattle pen in here, and then I've just reduced the cattle pen here because I actually ended up bringing it around the support columns here and then into a cattle pen up into the station. So I just wanted to drag a little bit of extra queue out of this one because this does have quite a high prestige. So the supports, let's talk about the supports. Because it isn't your usual layout, it doesn't have the usual supports. Now it does in the sense of we've got an A-frame support here or a pyramid support frame here, pyramid one here, and then we have the same here. But because it's not over the station and you can't share like the track and the supports and whatever, this pyramid one is slightly different to one you'd normally see on something like Deja Vu. However, it is still the same design. It's still that whole pyramid. It still has this shape here, and it's still supporting all of the stuff. So there's 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point here, one in the middle, one down here, one down here. So that's your typical support setup. But I'm liking it, right? I had these visions of because I need to clutter up the sightline. That's definitely a thing that I need to do, and I'm starting to do that as I said in the first update. You know, with all of these cable cars and stuff that are in. And I did have this idea of having some kind of Magic Cats or monorail ride or something coming through here, but actually these supports have scuppered that a little bit, so I need to find a different way of doing it. But it's starting ultimately to clutter up the skyline, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. And then the drop towers, they're all in. Of course, they were always in. The queue line itself is just a mess of queue line. And again, I need to stylize it. I need to bring it to life with path covers and stuff, tidy it up and whatever. But you know what that's going to happen there. And I've also just bought the perimeter fencing of the Floorless coaster much closer to the coaster itself, and around the bend here. It's actually really quite close. Like, you get some pretty decent like air as this is going to go past. So of course it's going to need all of its signage and all the usual stuff coming in here. But yeah, I'm liking how this path area is coming out. I want this to feel wider than it actually is in game, right? And that's where the path covers really do come into it, because you can kind of fake your way to greatness in that aspect. So over in the middle, I have just put in a bit of a mini arcade. Remember that every single small piece of space that the park would have available would be used for some kind of arcade or some kind of monetization thing, particularly as you can't put a ride or a stall or whatever in here, so you just put games and whatever, and people tend to be happy. It's a seaside park after all. And again, the whole cluttering out of the sightline when it comes along, this area will sort of start to feel a little bit better. So the Magic Cat station was originally over here. I have a feeling I might actually make the Magic Cat station here and have it coming around this way, and then around here, and then back on itself. It's a ride that needs to feel like it's been here for a long time and everything has been built around it, so I just need to sort of like play that out a little bit. So on the Rollercoaster, I have just put in fencing and stuff. I don't want this to be any more than this. Like, it's just a ride. It's just there. So it's fine. However, on the car ride, the Lunar Autos, I am actually starting to put a bit of effort into this one. I do need to get this done in this episode because the area needs to flow. So what I'm going for is very vegetative, as in lots of flowers, lots of foliage, but not overgrown. So think gardens. So I started to put this in, with the topiary and whatever in here, a couple of statues around here, and then all of the dirt and the mulch laid down so I can give it a bit of a personality. I'm going for a bit of the car ride at Liseberg vibe on this one. it feels like what this ride would deserve and would have, especially particularly as it's close to the road. You can kind of, well, we're going to change the wall eventually, but you can kind of peer through the wall or peer through the fencing or whatever, and you can see this ride, and it actually looks good from that perspective. So it's coming together. I'm chuffed. I'm glad I didn't make this taller. I was going to, and in fact, I still don't know if it's still too tall now, but it's fine. I'm liking how this is turning out, but I'm at that point now where I need to finish it because it's bugging me. So, see you in a minute. Well, this big reveal this week doesn't actually feel like it's that big, does it? Because it doesn't look like much has changed since the last update, but I promise you it has. And this is now everything I wanted this to be. Like, I'd planned this to look exactly like this, and oh yes, I love it. But one thing I didn't plan though, if I just get the camera right, is that happy little symmetrical accident. We've 2 towers either side of each other. I love it. I'll take it. I'm not going to claim credit for it because I can't. It's a complete accident, but I like it. And I love how it sits from the sight line of the street. I love how it sits from the sight line of the beach. And I love also how completely desolate it is. It just looks so sad. Imagine queuing in this queue. This is, by the way, exactly what a park that would have spent all of their money on the coaster and nothing on the surrounds looks like. Hyperia, I'm looking at you. No, wait, actually, let's all turn our attention to Emperor. Emperor, I'm looking at you. You are the culprit for this. So there you go. There's proof out there that this does actually work. I can't wait to show you, though, because it's kind of like come together perfectly. This is just one of those examples of, yeah, you can do bad well. So, yeah, this is what we've got. Lots of pebbles and stuff down here. Of course, we know this already, but I've gone ahead and finished all of this off and made the queue line all tidy and stuff with its path covers and whatever, and it now looks pretty decent. I have just added in a little bit of overgrowth. I didn't want this to be a completely clean area because it was looking new rather than well kept. So I did want a little bit of overgrowth going on in here. You know, maybe it's late season and they haven't been able to get around it. But this is a park that does look after themselves, remember. I mean, we've got all of the foliage and stuff that we've got at the front entrance and stuff here. So we know that the park does look after itself and it looks after its park, but it doesn't always look after inside the ride areas. And I know that we've got overgrown and stuff in the other ride areas. So that's kind of what we're going for. Inside the station, lots of touching up in here, lots of detailing that's all been done. We're now finally complete and we are all happy. We do have some music as well. I don't know if you can hear it. Hear it in the background, there you go. And I've just given it a bit of a style. I kind of wanted to go a little bit 80s on this one. The colour scheme lends itself to it, right? That whole bright, vibrant pink, and we're using the purples. And I kind of thought, well, if I add in a bit of yellow or a bit of white, then, you know, we've got a little bit of an 80s theme going on. It's not themed. Remember, stylized, not themed. So that's what we're going for. Little row numbers and stuff. And you're all good to go. The cattle pen queue lines and whatever are great. And I've changed the colour. I don't know if these were pink in the last update, but they were originally red because the coaster was red. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to keep them red. It's all about the primary colours. But actually, I changed it to pink and it looks so much better. And now that everything is done in the area, it actually suits it quite nicely. The station has come together quite nicely too. I'm quite happy with how simple it is. I don't want it to be any more than this. Again, they would have spent all the money on the coaster and not on the aesthetics around it. So we're all good to go in that space. The 2 towers then, I like it. Like, they frame off quite nicely. Look at that. I mean, yes, what more could you want? I've called it Power Tower, and of course I've got the blue one and the pink one, the Chacho colours. And because they've got 2 queue lines, then you'd have 2 queue signs and 2 entry signs and all of that sort of stuff. I wish we could do multiple rides with single queue, you know, like these would, and I wish we could sync these together, but the programs that I've put in, they're about the same length of time and they've got the same delay for launch and stuff anyway, so they roughly stay in sync, but it is what it is. You know, we can't do anything about it. The path covers, I've just started to toy with this idea of having this pink and blue because it's pink and blue, right? I like it, right? I really do. And I like the fact as well that it just stops here. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do around this area. For now, I've just copied it across just so I can get a feel for how this is going to transition from one area to the other. But I don't think I'm going to copy this all the way down. It feels like this is specific for this coaster, and it would probably stop around here. And it might also stop just in time for this coaster too. So we'll see how that plans out. But how that plays out. But yeah, I like this little plaza area. It's decent, and I mean from the guest view you get some pretty cool views here as well, right? So I like it, I really do. Like, yeah, I'm glad you guys voted for this one. Actually, I think this was more fun to pull together than the rest of the other options that were on there. This was definitely one of my favourites. So anyway, looking elsewhere, we've got the Corollas in here. It's just touching up work. Now, I do want to do something with this building. So for now, I have just put the roof on. I haven't done the foliage and stuff in this area, so we're just going to ignore that for a minute. We'll just go from down here, right? So what I did want to do here though is make it feel like the park have purposely extended this queue out into this area. So that's what I've done. So that's why we've got this little path cover down here in that little circle, and it kind of encroaches in on the queue. And it's because this ride is probably a little bit more popular than they perhaps imagined, and they need to extend the queue, but they don't really have anywhere else they can extend it to because of access down here and whatever. So this is the only place they've done it, and so it's encroaching. So I'm trying to build a little bit of that history in to the park. You know, I mentioned it at the beginning about wanting to clutter out the sightline with stuff that's already here. And then we've got ourselves a games unit in this bit, and I mean it's actually functional, and this is purposely so I've got cash machines and whatever in the park, but yeah, it works. I like it. I mean, it could be anything. This could be game stalls. It could be a food stall. The park would probably rotate it and do what they need to do with it and be done with it. And then, of course, we come over to the Lunar Autos, and this is looking good. I like how this is. I do definitely need to do new walls for the park. Of course I do, because this is only a metre tall and people are just going to hop over. But I like that it's flush against the park perimeter, and you've just got all of the foliage and stuff in here. And I also like that it's a little bit tatty. Like, they haven't completely finished it, and that's by design. Like, I've done that purposely, and this bit down here is all nice and clean and all nice and tidy, and you've got the queue line and stuff in here that feels a bit weird because it's got this like bottleneck and stuff. This is exactly as you'd find in a park like this. They're just sort of using the space the best they can. But yeah, this idea of this overgrowth and this foliage and whatever along here, I like it. It gives it a little bit of personality without having to theme a ride. Like, flowers are cheap. Well, they're not actually cheap, but flowers and landscaping is actually relatively cheap. And it plays off the lion that we've got here quite nicely as well, so it's decent. And I've just put in a couple of other bits, so, you know, like the fountain I think was already in, but I put the fountain in, a bit of topiary. Is that how you say it? Topiary? No, it's Tipperary, isn't it? That's a place in Ireland. Topiary. So yeah, I just put like the topiary bushes down and just put a bit of colour. It's all about colour, and it's all about bringing this all to life. Now that also means that this area now all makes sense because the path cover and stuff is down. It's now all consistent. It's all tidy, and it's all as I want it. I do just need to put the barriers and stuff down to stop them walking through the flower beds, but that's all good. And I've also just tidied up this insanity ride as well. The eagle-eyed amongst you will spot that we've had a colour change, and that's because I found I had too much blue and too much purple going on in this area, so I've actually changed it to red, and it looks alright. I mean, I love that this sticks out like a sore thumb in this area. They definitely wouldn't do this at Blackpool, for example. They would try and make at least some kind of effort to hide it. Possibly these rides would be the other way round, but I like that this is a deliberate bad decision. Like, I'm here for it. I am. Okay, and then the final bit is just to show you then just the foliage and stuff around this way and a new angle of the ride. There you go, there it is, and I absolutely love. I just look down and it just looks so desolate, but from beam level, it looks all right. Like, doesn't it? I'm all right with it. Yeah. We're gonna go for a ride on it in a minute anyway, so you can tell me what you think. There you go, guys. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the episode. As always, I really do appreciate it. Members, you'll get a copy of the park file. That's coming your way. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, then why not? Because this is a cracking episode and I love it. Guys, have a good one. I'll speak to you next week. Take care. Bye.